All right. So essentially the way that you want to do this is you need to pretty much like search for the record, select the record, and then you need to take that and you can add it back into those inputs pretty much. And so if we go ahead and take a look at this page, I've got a search input and I've got a submit button here. I'm going to build out the data flows live pretty much. But if we got this container list that contains these labels, and if I just go ahead and rename this can be first name, last name, and then this is just going to be the ID. The ID is going to be how you update the record later. Let's build out our search first, and this can be search. So let's build out our search first, and then we'll connect the dots there. So first I've got an Airdata app object called persons, and what I really need is I need an ID field. So if I start filling out some names here, let's go test 1, test 2. All right, cool. I think that's probably the perfect amount. You got 3, and then what we can do here is we are going to pretty much do a search, populate this container list, and then we'll work on how we want to have a user edit that data into the table. Let's start with this data flow. So let's go ahead and run this data flow. Actually, more so create a data flow. And here we're going to pass essentially the search term, and that's coming from this page, this input here. So if we take a look, that search input is right there. So we're passing that in here, and we're going to do a query. And so if we look for the Airdata request, we are going to do a query against the person's app object. And so if we just do a query just like this, gets all the records, but what we really want is we want something, and let's say we're searching by, I don't know, let's say we're searching by first name or something like that. So I think, and I have to actually look up the documentation for this real quick. It's called Airdata Querying Capabilities. Let's see. Okay, perfect. So let me just take that and bring it over here. And this is going to be first name. And then this we want insensitive any of. So this pretty much says, let's check the strings that match the column first name against the search term. So search term, and then insensitive any of, is that correct? Actually, I think I need to do IEQ. That's what I need. There you go, IEQ. So if the search term, let's say is TE, it should only return test, the test field. So test, perfect. If it's ISM, I should expect my name Isman. All right. So essentially here, what we want is we want to dot 0. Actually, no. Airdata.results, and then I want to return everything that comes back from here. So we are going to pass that into the output of this. I'm going to go back to our web flows, and then we are going to make a variable, and let's just make this a global variable. This is going to be list of persons, and I'll call this person list. And then here, this data binding is going to be session.personList, and then on this button, the output binding is session.personList. So now what we should expect is if we click on search, it's going to pretty much find the results of Airdata.results, which is the results of this query. It's going to bind this, pass it as an output binding of this data flow, and should put it into this container list. And so if I go to these items here, or these items in the container, I can go ahead and change these. So item dot last name, and then this ID is going to be item dot underscore ID. Perfect. Should have made this a selectable container, but it's okay. We'll just add a button here. And so this button is essentially going to, let's have this button go to another web page here. So if we click on this, and this is going to essentially display or pass the data into the input. So pass data to inputs of what is selected. And I can actually, let's go ahead and put some test data in here. Actually, no. Yeah, let's put some test data in here just so I know what I'm looking at. And I want more than 2 records. So we'll go this, we'll go here, copy this, go to my web flows, and put this in the variable tree just so I can see this. All right, cool. So you got first name, last name, and then ID. This button is going to be like called, is going to be called edit. So when someone clicks on this, they are going to navigate to the past data to inputs. And just to make it easy on us, let's go ahead and create another variable, and let's just call this selected person. And so when someone clicks on this, what I want is I want to set a variable called session.selectedPerson, and I'm going to set that to item. So what that's going to do, it's going to set the item, which is essentially these objects here, or these properties here, to session.selected_person. And then if we go over to here, what we can do is we can have these inputs, and this will be called, and we actually have to do session.selectedPerson, session.selectedPerson dot first name, I think. Cool. So session.selectedPerson.first name, and let's just change the placeholder of this. This is going to be called first name. Actually, we won't even see it because it's going to actually pass the data in here. But same thing over here, session.selectedPerson.last name. And then on this button click, we're going to say update. And maybe what we'll do is once we update, we will go ahead and navigate back to that web page. And let's also run a data flow. So this data flow is going to pretty much be the one that updates the record. So this is going to be search, and this one's going to be update. So here we are going to go ahead and let's see. All I really need actually, no, I need the whole thing. So we can actually pass this entire object here, because then on the web flow we'll pass the entire object. So then this is just going to be selected person. So essentially, and you'll see behind the scenes what that looks like, but what we're doing is we're updating that person object and just passing it all through here. And then when it comes to the Airdata request, we are going to do a put, and then we need all of these fields and pass person.first name. We need person.last name. And then the actual important one is you need person._id. And that's going to allow us to pretty much update that record. So let's go to preview this and see where that puts us. So if we click on this link and let's go ahead and search for tests. Awesome. I want to update test 1. So if I click on there, you can see here I've got test and test 1. Let's update this to test 100. Click on update, and if I search again, you can see now that is test 100. So that's pretty much how you do it, or you edit data in Airdata. The real important piece is this put and passing the passing the ID, so that Airdata knows what to actually update, like which row to actually update. And to surface this, you can go to Airdata and add a property called _ID. So you can see here I've got test 1 turned to test 100. Hope this helps. See ya.